one of the things that we are going through right now as a church is this massive build-out plan, this 3-year growth plan. The church is growing, which is an amazing thing, but it's also hard at times, right? Change, even good change, brings some complications along with it. People have complications in their personal lives. Change, quite frankly, we've all experienced as an entire world. The landscape of our world has changed since 2020, and the way that things are done and the things that we've all experienced change on a massive scale. And so I think it is a very appropriate topic. And so there was actually something that you had said last Sunday, and you were talking about patience, but it hit me that it was really appropriate and in line with change too. You were telling a story about yourself and an instance where you needed to have patience. It was actually, you and I had an interaction where you felt like you wish you would have had more patience with me, but then you had patience in this very professional setting with someone else. And you said, the quote that you said at the end of it was, you realized you had to restructure your life in such a way that you could have room for patience. Because life gets overwhelming, and the first thing to get crowded out is your fuse gets shorter, right? Your patience gets shorter. And it hit me, that's true for change too, because change is coming no matter what we do. You can't stop change from happening in your life. But you can restructure your life in such a way that you're more prepared for it. Obviously, some things are going to come out of the blue and surprise you. Nobody's prepared for, a cancer diagnosis or something like that. But you can make room in your life for change, or change will just come and push whatever it wants off your plate to make room for itself. And so structuring our lives in such a way that we make room for change. And you looked like you had a thought. I don't want to talk over top of you there.
Yeah, no, I've got a lot of thoughts. So I think it's like change. You have to do some emotional budgeting, right? So if you think of budgeting your money, right, and you'd go, hey, we're going to give this and we're going to invest that, and then we're going to save, right? So you would save, whatever you would, ideally 3 to 6 months of expenses or something like that, or you have a savings account because, like you said, the hot water heater goes out, something happens, right? You didn't see coming, and you have to have the margin. Otherwise, you go into debt. Mm-hmm. And so when it comes to emotion, if I'm running the rev limiter, my life is the nature of our family or the nature of my schedule or lots of pressure at work. We're in making hay in this season of time or whatever it is. And you go, I am absolutely right on the verge of a burnout, and you live there. Well, then when the unexpected thing happens, you don't have savings. You don't have margin, right? And that's what we see of Jesus. Even, he would go retreat. He would go into the wilderness. He would go be with the Father or be in solitude. And essentially, he's building up his account. He's building up his emotional savings account. Otherwise, again, then you go into emotional debt if you don't. And then what happens there, right? Now I'm in the red. And that's where I think probably the most short-sighted, bad decisions, the biggest regrets come when we're in emotional debt. The change was coming too fast. We're overwhelmed, and now we're trying to cope in some way. We're looking for some sort of anesthesia, some sort of adrenaline rush, something to get me, feeling good because I'm at a deficit. And so I think ordering your life, stepping back, flying up to 30,000 feet, looking at your life and going, we've done that many times, right? We're particularly with our middle son, was going through a time where it just simply being his parents was extremely emotional and difficult, and it was every day felt like failure, and it felt like no matter how hard we tried, we weren't getting it. And then you start to get wiped out. So you got to start saying, hey, you know what? I'm going to say no to this. I'm not going to travel as much. We're not going to be as available as we were. We're going to reorder our life, and then we're really prioritize things like physical health, because I go, man, if I don't have physical energy to support, to even have the juice to be able to be his dad. All right. So you now have to step back, look at your life, and make sure that you're not operating in a deficit. Even when we found out that both the boys had autism, we literally sat down and talked and discussed, are we in the right job? Like, can I do this job and be their dad? Because I'm going to be their dad first. Like, I will not shirk that duty, but can I do that and be the pastor of this church the way it's supposed to be? Or do I need to find another job? Because what I'm not going to do is destroy my life because I was living in emotional debt.
Yeah.
So you got to count the cost, and you got to take it seriously. And unfortunately, there's no ledger book for your emotions. I can't look and go, oh yeah, but you can kind of feel it and you can kind of talk about it. And that's where, we had a million conversations about it.
I think I love the way that you brought that up, because you were really intentional about, I am not willing to shortchange our kids. I'm also not willing to shortchange this church because I can't keep up. They deserve the best as well. And so if they can't get the best of me, I want to make sure that they're getting the best out of somebody that can give them the attention that it needs to help this community thrive. And so for us, it's been kind of this constant restructuring over time and over different life seasons as things do change and progress. Hudson's at a better place now, where it's like the way that we function in our relationship, the way that we function within the church, those things have fluctuated over time. I'm not working a 9-to-5 situation because, quite frankly, for the longest time, that was not even possible. Hudson was getting sent home from school an hour after he got there. Somebody needed to be available to manage that. And that couldn't be you in that particular instance, because you are needed to lead this ship. So us finding those different balances within our relationships as well, where it's like, how can we make time and room for each other? How do we make space for these changes to happen?
I think you got to count the cost going with your eyes wide open.
Yeah.
So like, I remember even in that season, I was starting to really feel emotionally depleted. And so I had to make certain changes of reordering my life, of telling people no a lot.
Yeah.
Which,
nobody likes to do.
Nobody likes to do. You don't like to do that. And a lot of times, when it comes to their pastor, people don't like to hear the word no. Right. So, and like, I don't like disappointing people. I like, we didn't start One Church. I'm like, I'll tell you what I'm really excited about is telling people no.
Yeah.
No, it was like, man, I couldn't wait to help people and all this. And so at some point I had to start saying, you know what, you're going to need to go to that person for this. I started telling people a lot of no. And, even just the way I would do weekend services, of going like, instead of, necessarily being super available, like, I've got to go rest more. Like, I've got to go get off my feet.
That was literally something I was just going to say.
That was hard.
Yeah.
Well, because, for a lot of reasons. One, I enjoy the interactions and all this, but I'm looking up and I'm like, you know what? Everybody's coming to me and they're neglecting. We got this awesome team of people ready to pray, but everybody's wanting it from me. And then also, I didn't want people to think I'm some kind of diva. I didn't want people to think I'm some kind of like, oh, he preaches and then he just vanishes, and he's not he's making it about him, or and so I had some fear of being misunderstood. Yeah. And, I didn't want to lose the heart of the church and all this, and so there was a lot of fear in that, but I looked and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to burn myself out, man.
I think that's probably one of the few things I've been like, I'm telling you, you have to do. I'm generally not real bossy in our relationship, but I was like, no, I'm not asking. I'm telling you have to walk out the side door.
Yeah. Because so you give to everybody else, and because what was happening is I would go home on Sundays and I was a zombie. I couldn't even play with my kids. I had no energy for my family. Like, Sunday's like this Sabbath, and it's like my kids are excited and they want to play, and I'm gassed.
Well, and even beyond that, it again reflects into the rest of your week. You're starting off your week absolutely drained and exhausted. Yeah. And so what are you even you're not able to bring your fullest self to the table to serve the church in the areas it really needs your practical leadership and things that only you can do throughout the week. Yeah. And so all these things that other people are gifted to do and quite frankly should be able to do, you know, people who are amazing in places of prayer and support, people who are amazing in counseling situations, and you know what I mean? Those people should be in those positions and leading in that way. It shouldn't, your smirk is killing me. What is this?
Sorry, I was just... I don't want to interrupt you. Feel free to finish.
No, I mean, now I can't even finish.
Okay.
I'm done.
I was just thinking
it.
back. I remember when I was in a season where I was right on the, I wouldn't say burnout, but I was like,
you can say burnout.
I was on the verge, like I
honest.
was pushing. And I remember a really nice lady in our church coming up to me after one of the services. She's like, "Pastor, are you okay?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine. What's up?" She's like, "You were slurring your words."
Oh my gosh.
I was like, I was? She's like, yeah. I was like, you know what? I think I need to take a break.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. No doubt. That is.
I think I need to take a vacation.
I don't think I've ever heard that. No, I mean, honestly though, like, gosh, all jokes aside, like that's terrible.
Well, we were doing 4 services. So I was, again,
back to back.
Yeah. So I think, again, I think we have more control of our lives than we sometimes think we do. We have assumed constraints. Well, dude, if I don't do that, I'm not going to get the bonus. If I do that, I might not get promoted. If I do that, I'm going to upset this person. If I do that, okay.
Or if I don't do it, who's going to do it?
Yeah.
You'd be shocked how many people would step up and fill a void once it's there that you don't even know about, that are in the wings and are incredibly gifted in that space and would love the work.
Yeah. I mean, I think we have more assumed constraints that we put on ourselves in terms of the power we have of our lives to make decisions. Like, I can't do that. Yeah, you can. Yeah. Well, I can't quit the PTA. I've been doing it for 20 years. Yeah, that's cool. Somebody was doing it before you got there. Like, you can totally not do it.
If you die tomorrow, somebody else will step in and pick it up.
100%.
I mean, not to be morbid, but like sometimes I think some people feel such intense anxiety around letting go of things that they work on and that they own. You almost have to put them in that headspace. You have to ask them the question that way. If you die tomorrow, what's going to happen to it? And make them think it all the way through out loud, because sometimes, you know, their first reaction is, well, it's just going to fall apart. Okay. Is that the worst thing that could happen? Or, you know, and then oftentimes we realize, oh, I guess it's not as life and death as I thought. Or, well, then so-and-so would have to step up and do it, at least short term. And then what? You keep them thinking down that road. And then what? Well, then eventually somebody, you know, they could train somebody else to do this. Okay, and then what? And then they would own that role. And could it thrive again? Yeah, it could thrive again. Okay, so why can't that happen when you're alive?